Good evening and welcome back to another Wildcat Game Day preview for Week 11 of the NCAA college football season with Bryan Boanoah. I'm Jack Murdock, and this Friday the Wildcats are taking it west to face off against the USC Trojans, who currently sit at a pretty 6-2 at the LA Memorial Coliseum. With an unexpectedly brilliant 5-3 start to the Wildcats this season, including a final nail-in-the-coffin win in what was Penn State's season, the Cats look forward to bouncing back after a Week 9 loss against Nebraska. Bryan, with a week of rest, what can you tell me about how the rejuvenated Wildcats used this past bye week?
I like to say that you can't lose on a bye week, but you definitely can win depending on how you prepare. And with the way David Brown was talking in his midweek press conference, the Cats have seemingly put the bye to good use. Head coach Brown is hopeful that key players like Josh Fussell and Ori Adeyi will be available for Friday thanks to the extra week of rest. Additionally, the coaching staff have been able to look at film and tune things on both sides of the ball. The team has clearly learned from the loss to Nebraska 2 weeks ago, and Jack, to me it sounds like NU is more prepared for tomorrow's trip to the Coliseum.
And you're not wrong, Bryan. In spite of an early season blow in the form of losing star running back Cam Porter to a season-ending right leg injury against Western Illinois, the Cats have turned to Joseph Hyman and new lead back Caleb Komolafe, who have only thrived under the bright lights. Komolafe, who rushed for 458 at 5.2 yards per carry over the last 5 weeks, leaves me certain about us seeing recurring shades of Northwestern's offensive identity this season, relentlessly stampeding the opposing defense. Lucky for Northwestern, USC's most blaring weakness has evidently been their vulnerable running defense, allowing 143.1 cumulative rushing yards per game and 4.2 yards per rush. And Bryan, what's also essential to keep watch of is quarterback Preston Stone, who has almost thrown as many interceptions as touchdowns this season. Stone, who has undoubtedly been a massive upgrade for NU's quarterback position since the 2024 season, has already racked up around 1,372 yards and 10 touchdowns this season. As long as Stone maintains a clean sheet for Friday, the Cats' offense should be clockwork. Bryan, how does the Trojan offense match up?
The Trojans, just like the Wildcats, funnily enough, are coming off of a tough offensive performance against the Nebraska Cornhuskers. USC quarterback Jayden Maiava had only 135 passing yards, 1 interception, and no touchdowns through the air on Saturday on a measly 39% completion percentage. This was the worst game and an outlier in what has been an otherwise stellar season for Maiava. The junior is 14th in the nation in passing yards and has been averaging 289 yards and 2 touchdowns through the air each time he suits up. Thankfully for USC, running back King Miller had a whopping 7.2 yards per carry, going for 129 yards total with a touchdown for good measure. USC knows how to score with its 39.8 points per game, good for 8th best in the entire country. Jack, how do you think Northwestern's defense will do against this potent USC offense?
Bryan, we all know how "and" is in our Northwestern DNA. And this Friday, the Cats will need their defense to show up just as much as their offense. Though the ancient Trojans hailed from Troy, our Wildcats are ready to toy with this Trojan passing offensive unit. Backed by the likes of all Big Ten D-liner Anto Saka and linebacker Mac Uline, Northwestern has been able to boast an elite passing defense ranked 14th in the NCAA, allowing an average of only 173 yards per game. Unfortunately, the same cannot be praised about our rushing defense, giving up 4.5 yards per carry, enough for 5th most in the Big Ten, and an average of 139 rushing yards per game. I mean, Bryan, the Cats must be incredibly cautious this week once USC running back King Miller comes not knocking, but barging through the door.
I agree that Northwestern does have USC beat on the defensive side of the ball when you can actually compare the two units played against the same opponent. Northwestern forced more turnovers against the Cornhuskers than the Trojans did, while also holding Nebraska to fewer yards per carry and fewer total yards on the ground. The Cats did all this with Dylan Raiola playing 4 quarters against them, while Nebraska QB left the game in the 3rd quarter against USC on Saturday. USC's defense has also allowed 30 or more points in 3 of its last 6 games, so they are prone to poor performances. But Jack, that was a lot of stats that we just spewed out, and the people aren't here to hear the numbers. They want to know our takes. So what do you think is going to happen this Friday?
I'm flattered to hear that, Bryan. Despite an injury-riddled season that has seemingly been plaguing the Trojans, their next man up mentality has remained strong, and it's clearly working with USC climbing to number 20 in the nation. What we also can't ignore is the Trojans' seamless job in protecting the Coliseum and holding an undefeated home record. Bryan, I'm seeing the vision now. The stage is set and the Wildcats come out with an early lead. But in the second half, Trojan horse style, USC conceals a loss and a dub and makes a comeback in the fourth. I have the Trojans winning 20-16 over the Cats in this Friday's thriller.
Jack, I think I'm going to have to agree with you on this one. I think both teams have an Achilles heel going into this game, that being their run defenses. Both Komolafe and Miller should put up huge numbers in this one. It should be somewhat of a high-scoring affair. Some might even call it a war, but I think it will take a Herculean effort for Northwestern to slow down this Trojan air raid to the same degree that Nebraska did last week. And the NU passing offense still hasn't replicated the success it had in Happy Valley. My score prediction, 31-21 USC, and the Wildcats will have a long odyssey back to Evanston. But that will be all for us at this Game Day preview this evening. This has been Jack Murdock and Bryan Boanoah. Thank you so much for tuning in.